Jai Hind to all. I think you are happy and safe at home. Dear children, we are going to learn History Chapter 4, the Mughal Empire. In this class, we will study who were Mughals, Mughal military campaigns, Mughal emperors, Mughal traditions of succession, Mughal relations with other rulers, Mansabdars and Jagirdars. Ruling as large a territory as the Indian subcontinent with such a diversity of people and cultures was an extremely difficult task for any ruler to accomplish in the Middle Ages. But from the latter half of the 16th century, the Mughals expanded their kingdom from Agra and Delhi until in the 17th century they controlled nearly all of the subcontinent. They imposed structures of administration and ideas of governance that outlasted their rule. Today, the Prime Minister of India addresses the nation on Independence Day from the ramparts of the Red Fort in Delhi. The Red Fort was the residence of the Mughal emperors. Do you know, children, who were the Mughals? The Mughals were descendants of two great lineages of rulers. Lineages means ancestry. From their mother's side, they were descendants of Genghis Khan, the ruler of the Mongol tribes. Genghis Khan ruled China and Central Asia. From their father's side, they were the successors of Timur, the ruler of Iran, Iraq, and modern Turkey. But the Mughals did not like to be called Mughal or Mongol. Why? What's the reason? Because Genghis Khan's memory was associated with the massacre of innumerable people. Massacre means a killing of large number of people. It was also linked with the Uzbeks, their Mongol competitors. On the other hand, Mughals were proud of their Timurid ancestry, not least all because their great ancestor had captured Delhi in 1398. For why Mughals emphasize their Timurid and not Mongol descent? What's the reason? Genghis Khan's memory was associated with the massacre of innumerable people. So, they not like to called Mughal or Mongol. Now we look at the ancestry. The great-great-fathers of Babur was Miran Shah, Sultan Muhammad Mirza, Abu Said, Umar Sheikh. Babur's great-great-grandfather was Miran Shah. Babur's great-grandfather was Sultan Muhammad Mirza. Babur's grandfather was Abu Said. Babur's father was Umar Sheikh. Next important point is Mughal military campaign. Babur, the first Mughal emperor. His ruling period was 1526 to 1530. He succeeded to the throne of Fargana in 1494 when he was only 12 years old. He was forced to leave his ancestral throne due to the invasion of Mongol group, the Uzbeks. After years of wandering, Babur seized Kabul in 1504. In 1526, he defeated the Sultan of Delhi, Ibrahim Lodi at Panipat, and he captured Delhi and Agra. The Battle of Panipat, Babur had firearms and very able generals. Cannons were an important addition in 16th century warfare. Cannons means heavy piece of artillery. Babur used them effectively in the first battle of Panipat. Gunpowder technology was brought to India for warfare in the 14th century. But firearms were used for the first time in regions such as Gujarat, Malwa and Deccan and was used by Babur in early 16th century. So, the Afghans were an immediate threat to Mughal authority. The relationship between the Mughals and the Ahoms, the Sikhs and Mewar and Marwar. How was Humayun's relationship with Safavid Iran different from Akbar's? Did the annexation of Golconda and Bijapur in Aurangzeb's reign and hostilities in the Deccan? These points we'll study in another chapters. Next, Mughal emperors, major campaigns and events. The first ruler was Babur. He ascended the throne in 1526. In 1526, he defeated Ibrahim Lodi and his Afghan supporters at Panipat. The real name of Babur was Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur. He was the son of Omar Sheikh. In 1527, he defeated Rana Sanga, Rajaput ruler and allies at Kanua. In 1528, he defeated the Rajaputs at Chanderi and established control over Agra and Delhi before his death. Next, Humayun. In 1530 to 1540, he ascended the throne in 1530 AD. Humayun divided his inheritance according to the will of his father. His brothers were each given a province. The ambition of his brother Mirza Kamran weakened Humayun's cause against Afghan competitors. Sher Khan defeated Humayun at Chausa in 1539 and Kanauj in 1540, forcing him to flee to Iran. In Iran, Humayun received help from the Safavid Shah. He captured Delhi in 1555 but died in an accident the following year. Next, Akbar. During Humayun's wanderings, he stayed at Amarkot in Sindh where he married a young girl called Hamida Banu. In 1542 AD, a son was born to her who later on became the Mughal Emperor Akbar. Akbar was only 13 years old when his father Humayun died. It was the year 1556 AD. He was then busy fighting against the rebels in the Punjab along with his guardian Bayrang Khan. The news of Humayun's death was kept secret for some time. Bayrang Khan declared Akbar as the next emperor of India at a simple coronation ceremony at Kalanur, a small town in the Gurdaspur district of Punjab. As Akbar himself was too young to rule, Bayrang Khan, who was a faithful friend of Humayun, became his regent and looked after the affairs of the government on his behalf. But Akbar was 13 years old when he became emperor. His reign can be divided into three periods. In 1556 to 1570, Akbar became independent of the region. Bayrang Khan and other members of his domestic staff. Military campaigns were launched against the Suris and other Afghans, against the neighboring kingdoms of Malwa and Gondwana, and to suppress the revolt of his half-brother Mirza Hakim and the Uzbeks. In 1568, the Sisodia capital of Chittor was seized, and in 1569, Ranthambore. The 1570 to 1585 military campaigns in Gujarat were followed by campaigns in the east in Bihar, Bengal and Orissa. These campaigns were complicated by the 1579 to 1580 revolt in support of Mirza Hakim. The third on 1585 to 1605 expansion of Akbar's empire. The campaigns in the northwest Kandahar was seized from the Safavids, Kashmir was annexed, and also Kabul. After the death of Mirza Hakim, campaigns in the Deccan started and Berar, Khandesh and parts of Ahmednagar were annexed. In the last years of his reign, Akbar was distracted by the rebellion of Prince Salim, the future Emperor Jahangir. After Akbar's death, his eldest son, Salim or Jahangir, ascended the throne in 1605 AD. Military campaign started by Akbar continued. The Sisodia ruled of Mewar. Amar Singh accepted Mughal service. Less successful campaigns against the Sikhs, the Ahoms and Ahmednagar followed. Prince Khurram, the future Emperor Shah Jahan, rebelled in the last years of his reign. The efforts of Nur Jahan, Jahangir's wife, to marginalize him were unsuccessful. Shah Jahan ascended the throne in 1627 AD after the death of Jahangir. There was a brief struggle for the throne. He had to fight against his brother, Prince Shahryar, who tried to become the Emperor of India. Finally, Prince Khurram was victorious. The Shah Jahan's early name was Prince Khurram. Mughal campaigns continued in the Deccan under Shah Jahan. The Afghan noble Khan Jahan Lodi rebelled and was defeated. Campaigns were launched against Ahmednagar. The Bundelas were defeated and Orkha seized. In the northwest areas, the campaign to seize Balkh from the Uzbeks was unsuccessful and Kandahar was lost to the Safavids. In 1632, Ahmednagar was finally annexed and the Bijapur forces sued for peace. In 1657 to 58, there was conflict over succession amongst Shah Jahan's sons. Aurangzeb was victorious and his three brothers, including Dara Shikoh, were killed. Shah Jahan was imprisoned for the rest of his life in Agra. Aurangzeb became the Emperor of India at the age of 40. He took the title of Alamgir. He was an excellent military commander and a fine diplomat. He was an able and hard-working king. He established himself as pious ruler. In the northeast, the Ahoms were defeated in 1663 but rebelled again in the 1680s. Mughal intervention in the succession and internal politics of the Rathore Rajaputs of Marwar led to their rebellion. Campaigns against Maratha chief Shivaji were initially successful, but Aurangzeb insulted Shivaji, who escaped from Agra, declared himself an independent king and resumed his campaigns against Mughals. Prince Akbar rebelled against Aurangzeb and received support from the Marathas and Deccan Sultanate. He finally fled to Safavid Iran. After Akbar's rebellion, Aurangzeb sent armies against the Deccan Sultan. Bijapur was annexed in 1685 and Golconda in 1687. From 1698, Aurangzeb personally managed campaigns in the Deccan against the Marathas, who started guerrilla warfare. Aurangzeb also had to face the rebellion in North India of the Sikhs, Jats and Satnamis. In the northwest side of the Ahoms and in the Deccan of the Marathas. His death was followed by a succession conflict amongst his sons. Mughal traditions of succession. The Mughals did not believe in the role of primogeniture, where the eldest son inherited his father's estate. Instead, they followed the Mughal and Timurid custom of compulsory inheritance, or a division of an inheritance amongst all the sons. Primogeniture means the state of being the firstborn child. That is the primogeniture. Okay, children. Mughal relations with the other rulers. Mughals became powerful. Many other rulers also joined them voluntarily. The Rajaputs are a good example of this. Many of them married their daughters into Mughal families and received high positions, but many resisted as well. Example, the mother of Jahangir was a Kachwa princess, daughter of the Rajaput ruler of Amber, the modern day Jaipur. The mother of Shah Jahan was a Rathur princess, daughter of the Rajaput ruler of Marwar. The Sisodia Rajaputs refused to accept Mughal authority for a long time. Once defeated, however, they were honorably treated by the Mughals, given their lands back as assignments. The careful balance between defeating but not humiliating their opponents enabled the Mughals to extend their influence over many kings and chieftains. It was difficult to keep this balance all the time. So look at the table first again and note that the Aurangzeb insulted Shivaji when they came to accept Mughal authority. Okay. Next important point is Mansabdas and Jagirdas. Who were Mansabdas? The term Mansabdas refers to an individual who holds a mansab, means a position or a rank. Okay, as the empire expanded to encompass different regions, the Mughals recruited diverse bodies of people from a small nucleus of Turkish nobles, that means Turanis. They expanded to include Iranians, Indian Muslims, Afghans, Rajaputs, Marathas, and other groups also. Those who joined Mughal service were enrolled as Mansabdas. Okay, the meaning of the term mansabdar means an individual who holds a mansab, meaning a position or a rank. It was a grading system used by the Mughals to fix rank, salary, and military responsibilities. Rank and salary were determined by a numerical value called Sat. The higher the Sat, the more prestigious was the noble's position in court and the larger his salary. The Mansabda's military responsibilities required him to maintain a specified number of savar or cavalrymen. The Mansabdas brought his cavalrymen for review, got them registered, their horses branded, and then received money to pay them as salary. The Mansabdas received their salaries as revenue assignments called Jagirs, which were somewhat like Iktas. But unlike Muktis, most Mansabdas did not actually reside in nor administer their Jagirs. They only had rights to the revenue of their assignments, which was collected for them, their servants, while the Mansabdas. In Akbar's reign, these Jagirs were carefully assessed so that their revenues were roughly equal to the salary of the Mansadar. But by Aurangzeb's reign, this was no longer the case, and the actual revenue collected often less than the granted sum. There was also a huge increase in the number of Mansabdas, which meant a long wait before they received a Jagir. The other factors created a shortage in the number of Jagirs. As a result, many Jagirdars tried to extract revenue as possible while they had a Jagir. Aurangzeb was unable to control these developments in the last years of his reign, and the peasantry therefore suffered tremendously. Dear children, let's revise the important points we discussed in this class. Okay, who were the Mughals? The Mughals were the descendants of two great lineages of rulers. On the mother's side, they were descendants of Genghis Khan, the ruler of the Mongol tribes. But on the father's side, Mughals were the successors of Timur. But Mughals did not like to be called Mughals or Mongols. What's the reason? Because Genghis Khan's memory was associated with the massacre of innumerable people. So, Mughals were the proud of their Timurid ancestry. Okay. Next, Mughals military campaigns. The first ruler was Babur. He succeeded to the throne of Fargana in 1494 when he was only 12 years old. He forced to leave his ancestral throne due to the invasion of another Mongol group, the Uzbeks. So after years of wandering, he seized Kabul in 1504. In 1526, the first Battle of Panipat was conducted. In this war, Babur defeated Ibrahim Lodi at Panipat and captured Delhi and Agra. Next, the Mughal emperors. Babur, Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan and Aurangzeb. The period of Babur was 1526 to 1530. Humayun's period was 1530 to 1556. Next, the Akbar's period 1556 to 1605. Jahangir 1605 to 1627. Shah Jahan 1627 to 1658. Aurangzeb 1658 to 1707. Mughal traditions of succession. The Mughals did not believe the rule of primogeniture, where the eldest son inherited his father's estate. Instead, they followed the Mughals and Timurids' customs of coprocessionary inheritance, or a division of the inheritance amongst all the sons. Next, the Mughal relations with the other rulers. When the Mughals became powerful, many other rulers also joined them voluntarily. Rajaputs are a good example of this. Many of them married their daughters into Mughal families and received high positions. Next, Mansabdas and Jagirdas. Mansabdas means, the term Mansabdas refers to an individual who holds a mansab, meaning a position or a rank. It was the grading system used by the Mughals to fix rank, salary and military responsibilities. Rank and salary were determined by a numerical value called Sat. The higher the Sat, more prestigious was the noble's position in court and the larger his salary. The nobles with the Sat of 5,000 were ranked higher than those of 1,000. In Akbar's reign, there were 29 Mansabdas with the rank of 5,000 Sat. By Aurangzeb's reign, the number of Mansabdas had increased to 79. Okay. The Mansabda's military responsibilities required him to maintain a specified number of savar or cavalrymen. Next, the Mansabdas received their salary as revenue assignments called Jagir. What is Jagir? Mansabdas received their salaries as revenue assignments called Jagir, which were somewhat like Iktas. Okay. Next, in Akbar's reign, these Jagirs were carefully assessed so that their revenues were roughly equal to the salary of the Mansabdas. These are the important points we studied in this class. Okay, children, thank you.